Y'all are the literal best. Thank you so much for all the questions you submitted. I'm so excited to chat with you today, get to know you a little better, I hope, in the comments. So please leave me a fun fact, something about yourself in the comments below. I would love for this to be a two-way thing. I have a ton of questions here. I'm excited to chat with you, and let's get right into it. If you see me glancing down, I did type out some of these questions, and there were way too many that I can answer in this video, but I'm hoping to at least get to a good chunk of them. There were some redundant ones, very prominent main questions, and so hopefully we can address at least some of those here today. But starting off, how do you prioritize alone time as a mama? I struggle with finding quiet time for myself so I can be the best for my husband and children. I feel like this is such a common dilemma that young moms face, and I think it's different for everyone. It makes such a difference if you are introverted, extroverted, what your love language is even, and so finding ways that you can still fill up your own cup as a young mom is so important, and I feel like it can look different for everyone. So for myself, I kind of get alone time every evening when it's evening chores. And this is not me like going to a spa, getting my nails done, soaking in the tub. This is really just a time when Josh has all the older kids out with him at the barn. They absolutely love their evening milking. So from when they're pretty little, they will beg to go out there, and that's time for me to make dinner in quiet. Y'all, I used to be very extroverted, but I think I've changed to much more introverted since getting married. And just that like peace and quiet to clean up my house and make dinner is really rejuvenating for me. So that is what I call my alone time. For some people, they fill their cup by going out like mom's night out, which can be very beneficial for the moms, but also for the dads. So it might be something where like once a month you keep the kids and your husband goes out with his friends, and once a month he does the same for you, working something like that out. But yeah, just finding pockets of time. I know that my situation is a little bit unique, and for you, it might be a better option to wake up significantly earlier than your kids. I know many mamas love to do that. I am not currently waking up before my kids, especially with a newborn, but it definitely can be a great option. Or if you have family around, setting up a schedule where maybe your mom or your mother-in-law keeps them for an afternoon a week or something like that, to have something scheduled that you can look forward to when you feel overwhelmed can be really helpful. How do you deal with, the exact same question twice. Pretty much, how do you deal with burnout and exhaustion? But two more things I would add to that can be really helpful that I think a lot of us wish to just overlook is enough sleep, which can mean a sacrifice on your end as far as what you commit to in the evenings, or even just like scrolling on phones and things like that can waste a lot of time when you could be catching up on sleep. And then also nourishing yourself well and exercise, which can be as simple as like a 1 mile walk each day with the kids even, but some of those things just make you physically feel better, which immediately pours out into the rest of your life and how you feel, and the outlook on life has been at least my experience. Do you and your husband do any date nights? How do you keep the intimacy in your marriage with such a busy lifestyle? Lots of questions on how to keep the fire going in a marriage. In fact, let's just bunch two of these questions together. Someone else said, one time you said that your marriage is so good. That gave me a lot of hope, because usually people focus on how hard it is and how much you have to work for it. What helps you in your marriage? Do you have any good tips for communication? Lots of questions similar to that. And yes, marriage can be amazing. 11 years in now, I can testify that it only gets better, but any marriage will go through valleys and mountaintops. And so learning to communicate is key. I found for myself, it can be very helpful to write things out. So the other day I was having a terrible time. I was feeling so down, really upset at my husband, and when I sat down to think about it, and he actually had to go put the cows in, and so it gave me some time to think it over before I just yapped, which can be a problem. So I locked myself up in the bathroom to think, and I realized that what's really going on is I am overwhelmed. And what's funny is it's not even anything about him. It's my own things. I was feeling overwhelmed with some different commitments I had with friends we were hosting a couple nights in a row, with still being postpartum, with all the things. And so I just wrote it out. I wrote him a text and wrote out all these things I was feeling, all the things that were overwhelming me, and sent it to him. And immediately he understands why I'm feeling so short and frustrated, and maybe even sees ways that he can help me feel less overwhelmed, and vice versa. I realize it's not him, actually, that's the problem here. It's my own. I'm just feeling super overwhelmed, and sometimes just realizing that can help. But I found that texting is actually a great thing in marriage, even in that way, but also other ways. Like, I'll see him walking outside and I'll send him some juicy text of some very attractive man walking on my yard, or, you know, things that might not be fit to say on YouTube. It's a great thing to keep the spark in your marriage. Send each other little love texts throughout the day, even just for letting him know that you respect him, that you appreciate him, that you see all the hard work he goes through, and he will reciprocate. So that would be one thing that I would say immediately from the start. I've said this before, and I feel like it's very controversial and does not apply to everyone. If you are in an abusive relationship, anything like that, this does not apply. But for myself, having a loving husband, I promised him early in our marriage, and this was just out of the blue, but I told him that I would never turn him down sexually. And to this day, I have kept that. I don't always feel like it, but I have kept that. And that's something he has mentioned from a guy's perspective has meant the world to him over and over again. So that is something else that you could do for your husband. And I know it's kind of one-sided answer because I am the wife, I am not the husband, but I have found that when I do some of these things, he reciprocates and like really fills my love language as well, and things that are important to me. I think when they feel respected, they want to love you and protect you, and it's kind of a two-way street. But again, I do not have experience in like an abusive situation, you know, with a husband that does not love the Lord, things like that. So it could look different there. Okay, let's see, something a little lighter maybe. What was it like growing up? Were you homeschooled or go to public school? Did you spend a lot of time outside? What were your favorite activities? Did you always want to be a mom and homemaker? So I went through a private Christian school through grade 6, loved it. I was a social butterfly. If I could not see my friends nearly every single day of the week, it was awful, I thought. And so that is kind of funny looking back. And then I actually homeschooled from grade 6 through high school. We did a Becca for high school, so we actually got to go to Florida with some other homeschool friends and graduate there with the Becca program. I think there was 300 and some homeschool graduates that year, so that was really fun. Did you spend a lot of time outside? Yes, I have always loved the outside. What were your favorite activities? I really was into sports. I loved soccer specifically, and then as I got older it was volleyball, but I was always defense in soccer, and it was my absolute favorite. Or we would just play in the woods, things like that. Did you always want to be a mom and homemaker? Yes. What has been the biggest change in your life that you weren't expecting when you first got married / had children, but you're thankful God chose the change because it's made you a better person, mom, wife? That's a good question. The biggest challenge that did this was having Lyme. Giant hawk just flew past my window chasing another bird. I hope the bird gets away. Do not like hawks. Anyway, biggest challenge was having Lyme disease. So when we first got married, about a month, I think it was exactly a month after we got married, is when I was actually diagnosed with Lyme disease and found out I had had it for 5-6 years. Never knew it, had consistently been feeling worse. I think the stress of getting ready for the wedding kind of made my symptoms a lot worse. And so like I was not feeling well on our honeymoon. That first year of marriage was very hard for me physically. And so I often say now that I think it was actually the best thing for our marriage. It really just gave a lot of depth, I think, to our relationship very early on that we would not have experienced otherwise. But as far as biggest change, oh, I know, getting up early. I've always been a night owl. I could, and to this day, it takes a lot of discipline. I would much rather stay up really late than get up really early. But then I married a farmer who gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, each and every morning, no matter if it's a holiday, a weekend, whatever. That's what he does to go milk the cows. And then is back inside and was ready for breakfast at, 7:30, 8 o'clock. And so I early on started getting up with him and would go to the barn with him to do chores. And I think it was great for me, and first of all taught me a lot of discipline that has benefited me ever since. Also, it's kind of funny to look back because that was polar opposite of what I naturally would do. Also made me more flexible, I think, with being up with kids at night later. Sleep is not what it used to be. Okay, so many of you have all these long, first have like half a message of compliments, which thank you so much. I see all those and they mean a lot to me. Hey honey, do you need something? Did you find books? Wow.
I found horsey books.
A horsey book?
The Bowie.
That's so cool. I keep hearing two different opinions on raw milk. Just wanted to know your opinion on it. Wow, do you want to sit on my lap a little? That's a really fun one. She loves her books. Raw milk. Well, we live on a dairy farm, so I don't think that's really a question. Yes, we love raw milk. I drank it through all my pregnancies. We love it. Lots of benefits over pasteurized milk, if I can be a little controversial. What got you into cooking, baking, and gardening? I really just grew up with it. I feel like my mom was a homemaker. She was always cooking up a storm, baking, gardening. I didn't love gardening until after I was married, which is kind of a funny story. I started doing it because there was nothing else I could do while I was waiting for my green card. And so I was like, you know what, I can garden. My mother-in-law offered me some space at their place since we were in a rental that didn't have a garden. And that's where I spent my time, and that's where I fell in love with it. And then cooking and baking, I've loved it probably since I was 10 years old. Any tips on how your kids' sleeping environment is? Do you use blackout blinds or wake up with light? None of the above. No sound machines, no blinds. We just talked about this recently, actually, how we know so many of our friends are so picky with like, oh, we have to go home now because it's our kids' nap time, or oh, like we need, like here's a sound machine to strap onto their car seat while we go for a walk so they'll sleep, things like that. We have just never done that, and I've always been glad we haven't, because all of our kids have just learned to sleep anywhere. So I can pretty much go about my day, and if we're out shopping, they can sleep in their car seat, or if we're at someone else's house and it's a strange bedroom and they don't have blackout blinds, they can still take their naps. And so, yeah, they're used to a lot of noise, a lot of light, and it doesn't bother them. It's just what they get used to. How do you whiten your teeth, and do you spray tan? No, I don't spray tan. I am the whitest, palest looking I have been in years, probably. After being pregnant through last summer, I was hardly outside at all. So no spray tans, but I am very excited to get out in the sun again. Yes. Oh, that is so cool. Would you like an apple shirt? No. And do I whiten my teeth? I do. Usually once a week I will use the Luminux, I don't know how you say it, but the whitening strips. It's like a natural teeth whitener thing that you can do with sensitive teeth. Do you wear makeup every day, or do you have your no dress up days? Pretty much every day. Once in a while I will not do makeup. I have very simple makeup routine, which a number of you were asking for like makeup tutorials or like what if I could say what I use, as well as like a hair tutorial. So maybe I'm gonna try to do that here shortly and just give you a step-by-step. It's super easy. I would say doing my hair and makeup takes maybe 10 minutes combined. So very simple, but I just feel like I feel more productive when I put myself together, and just a habit now, I guess. What Bible translation do you use? ESV. Best part about home birth, having my second baby, hopefully home birth in June. Oh, congratulations. Best part, oh goodness. First of all, I have had hospital birth, birth center, and home birth. I feel like any way you can get your baby out, the biggest thing is always that you're healthy and baby is healthy, and that's the biggest thing. But I did enjoy my home births, and I would say the best part was probably just being in your own bed and not having to take a bumpy car ride home afterward. How do you help a toddler adjust to a newborn? This has been probably the hardest transition for my toddler to baby. She'll be 3 in July. So she was 2.5, I guess, when William was born. And oh wow, we got a whole stack now. And has always been such a snuggle bunny. It's been difficult for her for sure, but lots of this, like sitting, looking at books with them, and just making them feel included. I would also be careful, especially early on, that I wouldn't just like, when she would come over, just like, oh, look at the baby, look at whatever, but rather compliment her and like, oh, I love your dress. Things like that I feel like were helpful. She would often come next to me when I was nursing William, especially at first, and just sob, Mommy, I want to snuggle you. Right? Because we love to snuggle. And so I would hold her hand while I was nursing him, and just try to be really intentional about also one-on-one time with her. You have such a beautiful family. Do you speak Low German? Jag kan en bit och bara kan mycket från dort fjätte. Ving keine Menschen hier reden dort, and so dort asked me schon, but kan en clean bit. Wann du mich even förstående kost. Whew, I'm losing it. How do you make the majority of your income? The dairy farm, YouTube, investments? So I'm not going to go into detail of this. Josh is definitely the main breadwinner of our family, and so he actually has an online business as well as the farm, and that would be the bulk of our income. How tall are you? I am 5'7". Somebody else said, what are some of your top clothing brands and some staple pieces you recommend to have in a wardrobe? Lots of question on clothing. If you've been around for a while, you could answer this question for me. 98%, I would say, of my wardrobe is from New Flora. I try to give you heads up each month on what's coming out that month because they do sell out super quickly, but that's what I use and really, really love. I love that it's a small business, it's a Christian-owned business, and they have lots of natural fibers like cottons and linens, which I am huge on, and so yeah, that is where I get most of my clothes. As far as main staples, an apron, does that count? I feel like that's important for my lifestyle as a homemaker. But then just something that's practical, and I love items that you can wear through each season. Like a lot of these clothes, this dress for example, I had pre-pregnancy, could wear it through my entire pregnancy. Well, maybe the last couple weeks it was getting tight, but pretty much through my whole pregnancy, and then also now it's nursing friendly. I wouldn't say that I have like a capsule wardrobe by any means, but I love having pieces that all kind of mix and match. So my wardrobe is a lot of like colors you would find in nature, and that all kind of can go with each other. Is this your last baby? Very frequent question. And Lord willing, yes, but ultimately it's in his hands. How old am I? I am 32, I think. After I turned 30, I honestly kind of forgot my age, but I think I'm 32. Do you go to a Pentecostal church? We do not. There's actually a lot of questions on what church we attend, what denomination we are. We attend a non-denominational church and love it. Your house is beautiful. Would you consider giving us a home tour? I would sometime. I feel like I keep holding it off because I'm never done with it. And I'm like, oh, I'll wait till we're more finished with renovations. But it is an old 1700s stone house, and it's way bigger than I honestly wish it was, and so it's taking me quite a while to renovate. But yeah, sometime I should do that. Let me know if that's something y'all would like to see. Oh, and then a few more questions on that. Do you do all the decorating yourself, or do you have outside help? And where do you get your decorating inspiration from? Yes, I just do all the decorating myself, which is probably why it's coming so slow. We finally kind of found a style that we love and that I feel like fits the house, but now I feel like I want to redo some of what I did originally to fit that style. But I don't know, inspiration, probably some Instagram accounts as well as sometimes Pinterest, but I feel like a lot of the time I just have to sit with the room for a while until I like get a vision, and I will just think it over until, I don't know, I have an idea and I'm like, oh, this is what would look nice, and then we do the room. So I don't know, that's not super helpful, but that's kind of how it works here. How did you meet your husband? Tell us your love story. Again, another frequently asked question. I answered this quite some time ago, but there's a lot of new faces since then. So basically, we met at a Bible school in Indiana, and it was kind of comical because I had just had some drama in that area of my life before going, and so my friends at home were all teasing me about, oh, you're going to bridal school, and I was like, no, I'm not, and I was actually serious. And so I was very rude, I feel like, to a lot of guys there that, you know, would maybe be kind of flirty or things like that. I would just be like, oh, no, you won't. And so I keep saying that it is such a good thing that Josh didn't show that he liked me when we were there, because it would not have gone over well. But I had no idea. In fact, it's kind of funny. One time, apparently, he told me this later, when we were playing volleyball, I guess him and some guys had been talking about, I don't know, the girls who were playing, or I don't know what. And one of the guys had actually told him that I was dating, and which I was not. But he went and got Facebook so that he could track me down and see if I was in a relationship, which is kind of comical. And then he did not ask me out until 5 months later. So it's a really cool story. I don't know how much detail I should go into, but I've never shared a lot of it, so maybe we could go into a little more detail. Basically what happened was he was praying. He just felt like it could never work. For him it was love at first sight, but he didn't feel like it could ever work because we lived 30 hours apart and didn't know when we'd ever see each other again. And so he was praying at home that if this was God's will that it would happen, that we would somehow meet each other a few more times throughout that year, and which we did. We ended up seeing each other 3 times throughout, all of which I was completely clueless. So at one point I was actually teasing my friend about him because I did notice at that place that he often just ended up being like somewhere near me and my group of friends, and I guess he was keeping track of me. But yeah, there's some really comical things that happened there between us that I should have caught on to, never did, but that is a long story. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to go into that in more detail sometime. He asked for me then 5-6 months later that he called and actually asked Dad first if he could start a relationship with me, which is the way to do it. We don't do the whole like courting thing. We didn't have like chaperones or anything like that, but I think it's very admirable for a young man to first ask her father before pursuing a relationship, and might seem old-fashioned, but I always loved that he did that. Oh, such kind words again. You have a calming presence. Do you ever get frustrated, and how do you cope? There were some more similar questions to that again. I do get frustrated, and I have just found, especially when it's with the kids, and I think that that was what a number of the questions were, especially regarding the kids. I just always feel like when the parent starts yelling at the kid, it seems so immature to me. Like the kid is already yelling, and now if you yell at them, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me because you're trying to get the kid to be quiet. So it's essentially like you're saying, doing what I'm not doing. I've just developed a habit, I guess, of I will try to kneel down, get on eye level with them and then talk very softly with them. Sometimes even whispering can catch their attention, but is just a much more effective way of calming them down versus yelling back at their yelling. And so that's something I try to do, and kind of then leads to other areas as well. The way to calm a situation, even if it's just yourself, is not by yelling. It's by worship music or by prayer or by talking softly. It's never by shouting. When and why did you start making sourdough? What's your favorite sourdough item to make? Oh, that's a fun one. When did I start making it? Probably like 10.5 years ago now. And so long before it became such a popular thing. But I started making it when I was on a very, very strict diet with Lyme, and that was the only bread that I could have. And even that I just had in moderation then. That's when I learned it, and I've stuck with it ever since. My favorite sourdough item to make is probably the sourdough croissants I made a few videos back. They are a labor of love, and if you're just getting into sourdough, I would probably recommend starting with something a little easier. But they are so rewarding, and it's a very like special, unique thing. And then of course, just the regular artisan loaf is also super fun. What is your biggest tip for a woman wanting to have a natural birth? Determination and a strong will. That's what's got me through all 5 times. I am a very strong-willed person, which you might not know, but also thinking through ahead of time and realizing it will be extremely painful, but keeping in mind that the pain will end. Like, you know it's gonna get painful. No matter how hard it gets, you're gonna stick with it and the pain will end. It gets worse before it gets better. How do you handle sickness in your family? When a child is sick, how do you handle it and prevent the house from turning into disaster? Do you give your children supplements? Yes, I do, and I found them very effective. We do the kids, what's even the name of the multivitamin? Mighty Min, that's what it's called. Kids Mighty Min vitamins, and I will try to link them down below. Those are the multivitamins they take and have crazy, incredible reviews, and like my doctor actually gave me an insert of what, from a medical perspective, what all these vitamins target and like help with, and it's mind-blowing. So we take those, as well as we'll do super tonic through especially the winter months, and vitamin C powder. It's like an vitamin C ascorbate that really helps. I'll mix that with some grape juice that we can here from our vines on the farm. Anyway, but doing some things like that can be super helpful. Also, limiting the amount of sugar that they consume is very beneficial. Sugar tears down the immune system. So we eat sweet things, but at home I will usually try to sweeten them with maple syrup or honey, or just with fruit. I think there's a lot more behind that than a lot of us even realize, but those are some things that have been working for us. Have you ever thought of publishing your recipes? They look amazing. Thank you. I have. It's actually a dream of mine. I would love to create a recipe book sometime, but as of right now, there's nothing in the works. Would you ever consider moving back to Canada? Was it something your husband considered when you got engaged? No, I don't think we would consider. It is something that I knew as soon as I started dating him, that I was marrying a farmer and that was his dream of living on the farm. We love raising our family here. I actually love the landscape here, and I love not having as long winters as in Canada. So I would say the biggest thing is my family and friends back in Canada. So we miss them a lot, but try to see them at least a few times a year. I love watching you. Thank you. Here's my question. What animals do you raise on your farm? Do you slaughter any animals for meat? We're thinking of getting a hog and a cow for that purpose. So our main thing on the farm here is milking cows, right? So we have a lot of raw milk. We're actually switching over our entire herd to A2, which some of you might be familiar with. Josh has been working on that now for a couple of years, and we're almost to 100% A2, which is exciting. And if you're not familiar with that, in short, basically that means that a lot of people that normally can't digest dairy milk can digest the A2 milk, it is easier on your system. And anyways, you should look into it. It's pretty fascinating. We do usually raise a few pigs that we butcher in the fall. We're getting 2 again here in a couple weeks. And then we do raise our own beef. So whenever we're out of beef, we will butcher another cow. That's all we have right now as far as animals that we use for meat. We do also have a little miniature pony, which you might have seen here and there in videos. Our kids love riding him. And what else? We have chickens for eggs, ton of cats, 2 dogs. I think that's about it. Okay, back to the nap question. She's sleeping now, so I guess case in point, we're in a bright room and I'm talking loudly. There's lots of questions on YouTube, how I got into that, how to get over the fear of sharing online, things like that, how you stay consistent. Again, I think a lot of that has to do with my strong will and determination to just stick with it, even when it took a long time to grow initially. Fear of sharing online. I think often the scariest people to share our channel with, anything we do online, is people that we actually know, because that's whose opinions truly matter to us. But if you're married and have your husband's support, that's what's most important. My family is super supportive as well, which means the world to me. And then if it's just something that you're feeling called to do, like one of you was saying here, you felt the pull to share, but you were scared to, you just have to look past that and just don't, especially at first, don't focus on views, don't focus on comments or likes, just like pedal to the metal, eye on the prize, and go for it. So anyways, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. I have a big dinner actually I'm hosting tonight that I need to go and cook up a storm for. So I think we have brisket on the smoker and I need to get the rest done. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you were inspired. I hope we got to your question. I really appreciate all of you showing up week after week. I love this little community we've created here. So thank you so much for being here, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, friends.
Golden, golden thing.